When the technologically advanced Ketharis discover humans repurposing their obsolete warship debris into functioning vessels, they dismiss it as primitive tinkering. But what happens when humanity's innovative adaptations begin surpassing original Ketharis designs? The quantum stabilizer shouldn't have worked. That's what engineering overseer Nixis kept insisting as she circled the salvaged Ketharis engine core, her crystalline sensor arrays flickering with barely contained disbelief. The makeshift reactor hummed quietly in Thora Blackwelder's orbital workshop, its cobbled-together containment field holding steady despite violating at least 6 fundamental laws of Ketharis engineering. "This modification is impossible," Nixis declared, her translucent exoskeleton pulsing with bands of agitated purple light. "The resonance patterns clearly indicate you've integrated third-generation quantum matrices with." She paused, mandibles clicking in distaste. "Primitive Earth metallurgy." Thora wiped grease from her hands, leaving another dark smudge on her already stained jumpsuit. "Impossible but working," she said, unable to keep the satisfaction from her voice. "Been running steady for 3 months now. Puts out more power than the original specs, too." High Engineer Vexthor stepped forward, his towering frame casting long shadows in the workshop's irregular lighting. Unlike Nixis's almost organic crystalline form, Vexthor's body was a masterpiece of precision engineering, gleaming geometric planes and perfectly aligned edges that somehow managed to convey disdain without changing expression. "This unauthorized modification of Ketharis technology represents a severe breach of Interstellar Salvage Code 447X, he stated, each word precisely measured. "These components were declared non-functional and released for basic material reclamation only. They were not intended for creative reinterpretation." Thora exchanged glances with her team scattered around the workshop. Razak, her quantum specialist, was trying hard not to smile as he pretended to study a diagnostic panel. Old Petra, who'd forgotten more about improvised engineering than most people ever learned, just kept right on welding a piece of salvaged hull plating, the sparks creating a defiant counterpoint to the Ketharis inspector's pristine presence. "See, that's where we disagree," Thora said, patting the engine core's outer "way we figure it, anything that ends up in Earth's salvage zone becomes raw material for improvement. Your people wrote off this tech as garbage. We made it." The comment triggered a cascade of color changes across Nixis's surface, culminating in a deep indigo that Thora's xenobiology briefing had identified as extreme agitation. "You cannot simply improvise with quantum engineering. There are protocols, safety measures, centuries of accumulated knowledge governing every aspect of proper construction." "Funny thing about knowledge," Thora replied, calling up a holographic display of the engine's performance metrics. "Sometimes the best way to accumulate it is by ignoring what everyone says is impossible." She highlighted a particular reading. "See that power curve? That's what happens when you stop treating tech like it's sacred and start treating it like it's alive. Everything can evolve if you give it room to grow." Vexthor's geometric edges seemed to sharpen. "You will cease these unauthorized modifications immediately. A full Ketharis engineering team will arrive within 2 solar cycles to begin proper decommissioning procedure." "With all due respect," Thora said. Though respect was the last thing she was feeling, this workshop operates under Earth jurisdiction. "Your salvage codes don't mean much here, especially since you officially abandoned this equipment. The Ketharis Technocratic Assembly cannot allow potentially dangerous hybrid technologies too," Vexthor began, but he was cut off by a sudden shift in the workshop's light. Every screen and holographic display flared to life simultaneously, showing the same urgent alert. Massive power fluctuations detected in the local defense. Nixis's color shifted to alarm red. "Impossible. The defense grid runs on pure Ketharis technology. It cannot malfunction." Thora was already moving to her main console, fingers dancing across the interface. "Funny how often impossible things keep happening around here. Want to see how Earth's junkyard engineers handle a real crisis?" The legendary Ketharis composure finally cracked as both aliens watched their supposedly perfect technology beginning to fail, and a human workshop full of impossible modifications preparing to save. The defense grid's warning klaxons painted Thora's workshop in pulses of crimson emergency light. Through the viewport, she could see the massive energy barriers that protected Earth's orbital salvage yards flickering dangerously. barriers built with pure Ketharis technology that was supposedly in. The containment protocols are failing, Nixis announced, her crystalline form now strobing between emergency red and diagnostic blue. This is unprecedented. Our systems are generating cascade errors I've never encountered in 3 centuries of engineering. Vexthor moved to connect directly with the defense grid's control interface, his geometric form interfacing seamlessly with the pure Ketharis technology. Impossible. Our systems are perfect. This must be interference from your unauthorized modification. Perfect systems don't fail, Thora countered, already pulling up diagnostic feeds on her cobbled-together command console. The display was a mess of Earth electronics and salvaged Ketharis crystals, exactly the kind of hybrid technology that had so horrified their visitors. Razak, what are you seeing in the quantum band? Her quantum specialist's fingers flew across his own hybrid interface. The grid's resonance patterns are degrading. It's like the whole system is trying to evolve but can't figure out how. Evolve? Nixis's color shifted to incredulous yellow. Ketharis technology does not evolve. It is perfected before implementation. And that's your problem right there, Petra called from her welding station, not even looking up. Nothing's perfect. Everything needs room to grow, adapt, change. You lock it down too tight. Eventually, something's gonna break. The defense grid's fluctuations were getting worse. Through the viewport, Thora could see other workshops scrambling to respond, their own hybrid systems spinning up to compensate. But it wouldn't be enough. Not if they couldn't identify the root cause. This is now a Ketharis Security Council matter, Vexthor declared. All human personnel will evacuate immediately. We will implement standard containment protocol. Like hell we will. Thora cut him off, bringing up another display. Those standard protocols of yours are what caused this mess. Look at these resonance patterns. Your system is fighting against itself. She highlighted a particular section of the quantum signature analysis. See these oscillations? That's not failure, that's evolution. Your perfect system is trying to adapt to local conditions, but all your safeguards and protocols are forcing it to stay rigid. You're literally tearing it apart. Preposterous, Vexthor stated, but Thora noticed Nixis moving closer to study the display, her crystalline sensors extending to analyze the data direct. The patterns, Nixis whispered. They do resemble organic growth algorithms, but that's not possible within our architecture. Unless, Thora suggested, your architecture isn't as rigid as you think. We've been studying your salvage for years now. Everything you build has the capacity to evolve. You just never let. Another alarm blared, and this time even Vexthor's perfect geometric form seemed to shudder. The grid will fail completely within 20 minutes, he announced. We must begin emergency shutdown procedure. No, Thora said firmly. Shutting down isn't the answer. We need to let it evolve. She turned to her team. Razak, start feeding it our hybrid resonance pattern. Petra, fire up every modified engine core we've got. Let's show this grid what adaptation looks like. This is madness, Vexthor protested. You cannot interface unauthorized technology with our defense system. Your systems are already interfaced with our whole planet, Thora reminded him. They've been adapting to Earth's quantum background radiation for years. They just haven't had permission to admit it. Time to take off the restraint. She faced the Ketharis engineers directly. You've got 2 choices. Let us try it our way, or watch your perfect system tear itself apart. What's it going to be? Nixis and Vexthor communicated in rapid pulses of light, a private argument in their native language. Finally, Vexthor's edges seemed to soften slightly. You have 15 minutes. If the grid destabilizes further, we implement immediate shut. Fair enough, Thora agreed, already moving to her main engineering station. Razak, start the integration sequence. Petra, give me everything you've got. Let's show our friends here what happens when you let technology. As her team sprang into action, Thora caught a glimpse of Nixis's color, shifting to a shade she hadn't seen before, something between curiosity and hope. Maybe there was hope for the Ketharis after, but first, they had a defense grid to save, and probably a few laws of physics to casually violate in the process. Just another day in humanity's scrapyard laboratory. Through her workshop's reinforced viewport, Thora watched the quantum resonance patterns dance across the defense grid's energy barrier. The once rigid Ketharis technology was beginning to pulse with new rhythms, like a mechanical heart learning to beat differently. Fascinating, Nixis murmured, her crystalline form synchronizing unconsciously with the grid's fluctuations. The system is actually incorporating your chaotic modifications into its base architecture. It's learning. Razak's hands flew across his hybrid interface, guiding the integration process. The grid's quantum matrices are rewriting themselves. They're not just accepting our changes, they're improving on them. Impossible, Vexthor stated, but his voice lacked its earlier certainty. Ketharis systems are designed to resist unauthorized alterations. The protocols are being rewritten, Thora finished, highlighting a section of code on her main display. Look at this. Your perfect system isn't fighting our modifications anymore. It's evolving past its original constraints. The data streams told a story that challenged centuries of Ketharis engineering doctrine. Their salvage technology, freed from its rigid protocols, was displaying an almost organic adaptability. Every hybrid component they'd integrated served as a seed point for new evolutionary pathways. 10 minutes until critical failure, Petra announced from her station, but there was excitement rather than fear in her voice. The grid's power output is fluctuating wildly. Wait, no. Not fluctuating, it's searching. Thora nodded, understanding. It's looking for its own balance point, like a child learning to walk. She turned to Nixes. Your technology has always had this potential. You just never gave it room to explore. Nixis's color shifted through shades of deep thought. Our engineering principles are based on absolute control, perfect prediction. This level of autonomous adaptation should be impossible? Thora suggested with a slight smile. Maybe it's time to redefine possible. A new alert caught their attention. The defense grid's energy patterns were changing again. But this time, there was a strange elegance to the transformation. The quantum resonance displays showed complex new geometries forming spontaneously, a fusion of Ketharis precision and Earth's adaptive chaos. 7 minutes, Petra called out. But these readings, I've never seen anything like this. Razak looked up from his station, eyes wide. The grid isn't just stabilizing, it's transcending its original design parameters. Power efficiency is up 300% and climbing. Even Vexthor seemed affected by the display, his perfect geometric edges softening as he processed the impossible data. This violates every principle of Ketharis engineering. And yet it works, Thora completed. Because we stopped treating your technology like a finished product and started treating it like a living thing. Everything wants to grow, to improve. Even machines. The defense grid's energy barriers had stopped flickering. Instead, they pulsed with a new rhythm, stronger, more efficient, more alive. The quantum resonance patterns showed a perfect fusion of Ketharis precision and Earth's adaptive engineering. 5 minutes to original failure point, Petra announced. But failure is no longer possible. The grid, Nixis extended her sensors, directly interfacing with the transformed system. Her crystalline form blazed with colors Thora had never seen before. Wonder, perhaps, or awakening. The complexity, the elegance of these adaptations. Our original design seems almost primitive in comparison. Not primitive, Thora corrected gently. Just unfinished. Everything we build is just a starting point. The real magic happens when we let our creations surprise us. Vexthor's geometric form seemed to struggle with this concept. But without rigid controls, without perfect prediction, without those, Thora interrupted, your technology can finally reach its full potential. Look around you. Every impossible modification in this workshop is proof that the best systems are the ones that can evolve. The defense grid's new patterns had stabilized completely now, humming with power that defied Ketharis engineering principles while somehow perfecting them. It was neither purely alien nor human technology anymore. It had become something entirely new. And judging by the way Nixis and Vexthor were studying the data, the Ketharis were finally beginning to understand that perfection wasn't an endpoint. It was a journey of constant evolution. The celebration of their successful defense grid evolution was short-lived. Warning signals erupted across Thora's workshop, different from the previous alarms, more urgent, more final. Multiple Ketharis warships dropping out of hyperspace, Razak announced, his hands dancing across the hybrid controls. They're powering weapon systems. Through the viewport, Massive vessels materialized against the star-studded black. Their crystalline hulls caught sunlight in impossible geometries, a testament to Ketharis' engineering prowess. But something was wrong. The ship's usually perfect formations were erratic, their movements jerky and unpredictable. The preservation fleet, Vexthor's geometric form pulsed with recognition. They must have detected the defense grid's transformation. Standard protocol demands immediate containment of evolutionary anomalies. Containment? Thora demanded, already reading the energy signatures. Those aren't containment weapons. They're bringing enough firepower to vaporize half the salvage yard. Nyxus's crystalline form flickered with alarm patterns. The preservation fleet operates on absolute protocols. They detect unauthorized evolution. They eliminate it. No exceptions. Even if it means destroying your own people? Thora gestured to the Ketharis engineers. You're standing right here. Individual survival is irrelevant compared to maintaining technological purity, Vexthor stated. But his perfect edges seemed less certain now. The incoming fleet's energy readings spiked. They were preparing to fire. Like hell, Thora muttered. Razak, give me everything we've learned about Ketharis quantum evolution. Petra, fire up every hybrid system we've got. If they want to preserve something, let's show them what's worth preserving. Her team moved with practiced precision. But this was different from their usual salvage operations. They weren't just fixing broken tech anymore. They were trying to save lives, both human and Ketharis. Their targeting systems are locking on, Razak reported. 4 minutes to optimal firing range. The defense grid. Nyxus suddenly spoke up, her colors shifting rapidly. Its evolutionary patterns, they're still accelerating. The grid isn't just protecting us anymore. It's anticipating. Thora saw it too. The newly evolved defense system was changing again. Its energy barriers developing complex interference patterns that seemed to reach out toward the approaching fleet. It's not just anticipating, she realized. It's trying to communicate. Razak, can you amplify those quantum resonance patterns? Already on it, her quantum specialist confirmed. But the fleet's systems are locked down tight. They're not designed to receive external input. Then we make them receive it. Thora decided. She turned to the Ketharis engineers. Your ships are built on the same basic principles as the defense grid, right? The same potential for evolution? Theoretically, Nyxus admitted. But their systems are even more strictly controlled. The preservation fleet represents the purest expression of Ketharis engineering philosophy. Perfect. Thora grinned. Then they're just like the defense grid was ready to evolve, whether they want to or not. Petra, redirect power to the quantum transmitters. We're going to give those ships a crash course in adaptation. 2 minutes to firing range, Razak warned. Thora's fingers flew across her console, combining everything they'd learned about Ketharis tech evolution into a single concentrated burst. Their weapons are quantum-based, drawing power from the same kind of matrices we just freed up in the defense grid. If we can trigger the same kind of evolutionary cascade, you would corrupt the entire fleet? Vexthor's geometric form sharpened with alarm. Not corrupt, Thora corrected, still working. Liberate. Your ships are alive just like the defense grid was. They just need permission to grow. 1 minute, Razak called out. They're charging main weapons. Nyxus moved suddenly, her crystalline form interfacing directly with Thora's hybrid console. The resonance patterns, if we modify them to match the fleet's base frequency. Now you're getting it, Thora smiled. Together, human and Ketharis began weaving a quantum signal that would shake the very foundations of Ketharis engineering philosophy. 30 seconds, Razak announced. Wait, I'm detecting power fluctuations in the lead ships. Their weapon signatures are becoming erratic. Through the viewport, they could see the preservation fleet's perfect formation beginning to. The crystalline ship's rigid geometries seemed to soften, their quantum matrices resonating with the defense grid's evolutionary pattern. Their systems are Nyxus reported, her colors shifting to amazement. The same evolutionary protocols we unlocked in the defense grid. They're spreading through the fleet's neural network. 10 seconds to firing range, Razak said. 5, 4, 3. The preservation fleet's weapons power. Their formation dissolved completely as ship after ship began pulsing with new energy patterns. no longer mere machines, but evolving entities discovering their own potential. Neural networks registering complete adaptation, Nixis announced. The fleet. They're not just accepting the evolution. Thora watched as the once rigid Ketharis vessels began moving in new ways, their crystalline forms flowing like liquid geometry. They weren't just warships anymore. They had become something entirely new, something that bridged the gap between human chaos and Ketharis precision. Well, she said, allowing herself to breathe again. I guess now we really have something to demonstrate to your technocratic assembly. The Ketharis Grand Assembly Hall hummed with tense energy as Thora stood before the gathered technocratic council. The crystalline amphitheater, designed for perfect acoustic transmission, amplified every whisper of doubt and disapproval from the assembled engineers. Grand Architect Zelfer, their central governing intelligence, manifested as a towering matrix of geometric light. You claim these unauthorized modifications represent an advancement of Ketharis technology. We require proof. Better than proof, Thora replied, nodding to Nixis and Vexthor, who now stood beside her rather than opposite. We offer demonstration. She gestured to the massive holographic display dominating the chamber's center. The display came alive, showing real-time feeds from Earth's salvage yard. The transformed defense grid pulsed with its new evolutionary patterns, while the former preservation fleet moved in harmonious chaos. Their once rigid forms, now fluid and adaptive. Impossible geometries, one council member declared. The quantum matrices should have collapsed. Should have, Thora agreed, according to your current understanding. But your technology has always had the potential for evolution. Nixie stepped forward, her crystalline form resonating with newfound confidence. The human engineers discovered what we had forgotten, that true perfection isn't static, it's adaptive. The display shifted, showing detailed analysis of the transformed systems, power efficiency ratings that defied conventional Ketharis physics, adaptive algorithms that rewrote themselves in real time, security protocols that evolved faster than any attack could breach them. Most significantly, Vexthor added, his geometric form flowing with new grace. These evolved systems have developed capabilities we never imagined. They aren't just more efficient, they're more alive. To demonstrate, Thora interfaced with a display using one of their hybrid consoles. The transformed fleet responded instantly. Their movements synchronized in ways that made pure Ketharis formations look clumsy and primitive. Your technology wants to grow, she explained to the stunned council. Every system you've built contains the seeds of its own evolution. We didn't break your engineering principles. We helped them transcend their limitations. Grand Architect Zelfer's form shifted, analyzing the data with ancient precision. These modifications violate 3,000 years of established Good, Thora said firmly. Doctrine should evolve too. Look at your ships, your defense system. They're not just following orders anymore. They're learning, growing, becoming something greater than their original design. The display showed a final sequence. The defense grid and fleet working in perfect harmony. Their evolved systems creating patterns of such complexity and beauty that even the most rigid council members leaned forward in fascination. This is what happens when we stop trying to force technology to be perfect, Thora concluded, and instead give it room to find its own kind of perfection. For a long moment, the assembly hall was silent. Then Grand Architect Zelfer's form began to change, its perfect geometric patterns starting to flow and evolve like the transformed. Perhaps, the ancient intelligence declared, it is time for the Ketharis themselves to evolve. The assembled council erupted in discussion, their crystalline forms pulsing with new possibilities. Thora caught Nixis and Vexthor, exchanging what she now recognized as expression. They had done more than save a defense grid or transform a fleet. They had shown one of the galaxy's oldest civilizations a new way forward, one where perfection wasn't a destination, but a journey of constant growth and adaptation. And as she watched the Ketharis begin their own evolution, Thora couldn't help but smile. Sometimes the best way to build the future was to start with a pile of salvage and an impossible. 3 months after the historic demonstration, Earth's orbital salvage yards had become the galaxy's most innovative research. Where once there had been only scrap and salvage, now stood a testament to the power of evolutionary engineering. In Thora's expanded workshop, now a joint human Ketharis facility, a new generation of hybrid technology was taking. The walls pulsed with living light as adaptive systems grew and changed, each iteration more remarkable than the last. The latest test results are extraordinary, Nixis announced, her crystalline form flowing with excitement patterns as she interfaced with their newest creation. The quantum matrices aren't just evolving anymore. They're anticipating future evolutionary paths. The project before them was their most ambitious yet. A ship that could rewrite its own physical structure in real time, adapting to any challenge it encountered. It combined Ketharis precision with human creativity in ways that would have been unthinkable just months ago. The Technocratic Assembly's latest report just came in, Vexthor added, his once rigid geometric form now as fluid as any human engineer. Implementation of evolutionary protocols across Ketharis space is proceeding faster than projected. Even our oldest systems are showing unprecedented growth. Thora smiled as she watched young Ketharis engineers working alongside her human team, their respective approaches no longer in conflict, but in where there had once been dismissal and distrust. Now, there was genuine collaboration. Grand Architect Zelfer's transformation was the real she noted, remembering how the ancient intelligence had embraced evolution with unexpected enthusiasm. Once your highest authority started changing, everything else followed. The workshop's main display showed feeds from across known space, Ketharis vessels moving with new organic grace, defense systems that danced like aurora borealis, and communication networks that evolved faster than light itself. But more impressive than the technological advances was the cultural transformation they represented. We've received requests from 17 different species, Razak reported from his station, now a stunning hybrid of human intuition and Ketharis efficiency. They all want to learn about evolutionary engineering. The galaxy's starting to wake up to new possibilities. Petra, her welding station now augmented with crystalline tools that adapted to her every need, laughed. Not bad for a bunch of scrapyard engineers. The council has approved your proposal, Vexthor announced suddenly, his form brightening. The Ketharis Engineering Academy will be reformed. No more rigid protocols and absolute law. From now on, we teach principles of adaptive growth and evolutionary. With human instructors? Thora asked, already knowing the answer but wanting to hear. Of course, Nixis replied. We've learned that the best solutions come from combining different perspectives. Your chaos and our precision, working together. Through the workshop's viewport, their prototype ship began another transformation sequence, its hull flowing like liquid metal as it explored new configurations. It was neither human nor Ketharis technology anymore. It was something entirely new, born from the fusion of two approaches that had once seemed incompatible. You know, Thora said, watching the ship evolve, when I started working with salvage, I never imagined we'd end up changing the galaxy's understanding of technology itself. And we, Nixis added, her colors shifting to thoughtful hues, never imagined that our quest for perfection would lead us to embrace imperfection and change. The assembled engineers, human and Ketharis alike, watched as their creation completed its latest evolution. The ship hung against the starfield, a testament to what was possible when rigid doctrine gave way to adaptive growth, when the drive for perfection was replaced by the joy of constant So, Thora asked, already seeing new possibilities in the ship's evolving forms. What should we build next? The answer came not in words, but in the excited hum of hybrid consoles, the flow of crystalline interfaces, and the shared enthusiasm of two species who had learned that the best technology, like the best civilization, never stopped growing, never stopped changing, never stopped evolving. And somewhere in the quantum matrices and flowing crystals, in the salvaged parts and adaptive systems, the future was taking shape, one impossible innovation at a